In this climate business, one of the things you might have noticed is everybody talks in this area, from the head of the state to local. But we need to always talk with facts, figures, and science based. And this is where I think the real challenge is. And you will see this every day in the newspaper, all kind of statements. So this is something which we need to recognize, in my view. The second thing I like to say is we all have to be a part of this. It's not only government, it's the private sector. Every individual, I said, Sun Tzu has to be a part of this by 2050. She will probably be the minister, prime minister. I won't be there in 250. But you people, so it's everybody's job. And I think passing the buck to the government, the private sector alone, or the private sector saying government, I think is no longer the debate in the world today. It's everybody. It's a very important message. I like the fact that Nepal has come with a target to be carbon neutral by 2045. That's a commitment at the highest level. You, me, as the citizen of this country, we want to see the pathways, like the Slovakians or the Europeans, how they want to achieve that. I haven't seen that. This kind of statements need to be turned into reality, and we need to be told how. And that is the kind of thing we need to, in my opinion, act. Now, I've attended many COPs in the past in my life. I'm an old man. But if people tell me what three things you saw different in COP26, I didn't see, I listened this time, that you found slightly different than in the past. If I had to pick three, I can pick 30. Picking three is much more difficult than 30. I would say the following three things for me. I saw the energy debate is become much more stronger. People are able saying, get out of the coal. That statement as that. Get out of the fossil fuel, although there may be a timeline for that. The ADB said, we will buy the coal-fired power plants. Like, we can retire them early. I mean, these kind of new energy focus within the fossil fuel, coal, etc. debate is very high. In the energy sector, there are more people wanting to get into the clean energy, renewable energy sector, including private sector energy. This time, the second thing I saw is, for the first time, I saw a much bigger commitment from the private sector than ever before in COP26. There are the Citibank, the investment banks, the Bill Gates and others saying, we will want to be part of this in technology, funding, project development, etc. Narachi, I think you have a great opportunity as a private sector to get involved in this one. You're already getting involved. Maybe get all your friends to also be in this one. We need that. The third thing I saw, at least I read different than the COP, there's a strong agreement among the developed countries that we need to provide more money. We said 100 billion in Paris, we didn't provide, we said this, kept on prolonging. This time there's a sincere wish that we want to be able to give more money. I think these three things are very, very important beside the other thing. Now in the context of Nepal, what three things probably, you can do 100 things and three things that I would, if I were the Prime Minister, which I'm not, that's why I can say this very easily. Everybody talk about the need for research center. Yes, if there's a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2045, if we want to get the opportunity, you get that huge money available for grants, for climate financing, for climate projects, whether it is electric public buses or for our forests or for our glaciers, we got to be able to study. As Slovakians say, our data is 10 years old. How can you ask money on 10 years old data? I used to be Nation Development Bank giving money. I can't give you money based on the 10-year-old data. When I look at the economic analysis and losses, the last report was, I think, 2014. Dr. Govind Nepal was involved, and they said the economic impact is 1.5 to 2% of the GDP, and by 2050 it will be 2 to 5%. And we are now growing 5%. So it is a very compelling argument that these are economic damages. We can't afford to have it. So this kind of data analysis research is needed. Otherwise, we're not serious. I mean, there is no data, there's no research, you can't do that. The other thing that equally important is, when I was to the Asian Development Bank, we started to, I put a target of about $1 billion, 3 billion it became 5 billion, because the countries were able to provide bankable investment projects. I think there's no capability here. We even, Subhakarji, know, we even established such a training opportunities in Bangkok, where government people, private sector, anybody could go and prepare the projects so that you could be funded and get free money. I don't think we like that money. I get the feeling the Nepalese government or private sector don't want that money. They're probably happy. They're rich people. They're probably happy with what money they have. I don't see a hungry desire to tap that money. But I see that in some of the countries. I don't want to be mentioned by the Khabarhub, but when I was working with the Chinese, when I mention money, they say, where? These guys immediately want to know. When I say money in Nepal, no, this is hard work to get the money. This is hard work, but the money is there. So it's a choice people will have to make on this one, in my opinion. The second thing I will say is we need to do a much better job on finding adaptation. What will happen to Jumla apple? I don't know. What will happen to the area where we're growing rice today? Will it continue to be rice in 2015? 50? I don't know that. But we need to know that. Without knowing those things, you don't know the impact, you don't know how to move the agenda forward. The local level impacts on adaptation in this country is very, very poor. It's poor in all countries, except in few rich countries. But we have to be able to know what will happen where. Where, if our glacier bursts, what will happen? Which dams will actually be the risk? With the risk assessments, nothing. Without that, we're not serious, in my view. The glacier, we heard that. The Ishimor has done a good job for a lot of things. You people have done a good job. But that good job has to be translated into real action. Partly it's the job of the government. Partly it's the job of the people to demand this. I think I'm not saying I'm an advocate, etc., but I'm a citizen. I deserve the right to say to the government, hey, you need to focus on this issue. This is important for me, my next generation, next generation, and they can walk away without it. I don't think we have that kind of a mass yet. The other thing is, anything we do on the technology here is poor. The quality and technology is very poor. We are not leapfrogging in technologies which is available. Sometimes we say costly. We're developing countries, so we're not supposed to have the best technology. I think that mindset has to change. In the adaptation, there is a lot that you could adapt, and leapfrog. I'll only mention the third one now. I think this country needs also a national climate policy that will require every sector, energy, transport, urban, agriculture, forest sector, to do what is required. Not only a policy that is implemented, executed, enforced, monitored, evaluated, and punished if they're not implemented, which is a big agenda, I think. I'm just saying what should be done. But since I'm not the Prime Minister, I'm sorry I can't get it done for you. But I only want to say finally, let us build the capacity, institution in the country. Let's say that this is all Nepalese agenda, because we have a tendency to say this is government. Government doesn't give money, doesn't. Private sector say government. This government has limited ability, research. No, everywhere in the world, the government is not the only thinker and only funder. In the climate change, we have Mr. Jeff Bezos who's putting $100 million Earth Fund. Bill Gates announced so many billion. I'm waiting for private sector like Nareshji and his colleagues say, we're putting this money for the Climate Center for Research. Guys, do something for the country. I hear that there's a lot of CSR money. I hope some of these will actually go to climate change. Now, with this, I think I'm very hopeful. The reason I'm saying this is I know the Pavilion, Khabarhub, and ISSR is very committed to this agenda. And this is not the first time we'll be talking on this. This talk has just started after COP26. It just finished today. The talk has started. Let's continue the dialogue. Hopefully, we'll get there. We have to have the hope. I'm hopeful. I'm sure you all are hopeful. Once again, Dr. Sobakar, thank you very much for sharing all the knowledge. Thank you.